Okay, so a really warm welcome. Warm welcome. For me, it's cold in this area. As you know, I've joined Ooredoo at the beginning of this year, and to give you a feeling, in Ooredoo, it's a company, the headquarters is based in Qatar. And in Qatar, in Doha, we have had the last 2 months average temperature around lunchtime, 48 degrees. So it's cool. It's a different world compared to here. So who's Ooredoo? I want to explain a little bit who's Ooredoo. Everybody thinking about Ooredoo, it's Qatar. Qatar is a country with 2 million people. 2 million people, or 10% of these people are Qataris or coming from there, 90% are experts. But in this case, if we're talking about smart cities, I do not talk only about Qatar. I want to explain what is our footprint and how smart cities are developing themselves in our footprint. Our footprint is, as you can see, from North Africa. North Africa is Tunisia, Algeria. Then we have the Middle East. Middle East is Oman, Qatar, and some other countries, plus Indonesia. Indonesia, Myanmar. Overall, our revenue is around about 33 billion Qatar Rial. What is Qatar Rial? You have to divide it via 4. That means we are talking about $8 billion US per annum, roundabout. We have round about 100 million customers in our footprint, we are addressing round about 500 million potential customers. One country, for example, Indonesia. Indonesia is, I believe, the number 4 worldwide of huge countries. In Indonesia, we are addressing around about 240 million people. So, we have founded our B2B unit, and in B2B, a part of this story is M2M, and I want to talk a little bit about this. This is Qatar. I'm living there with my family. Nice place, but I do not want to explain how I'm living there. In our footprint, in principle, smart cities are developing in a different approach. I give you an example. Jakarta, I will explain in my second part of the presentation. In Jakarta, there's an existing city. And in this city, we have to implement smart city activities. If I'm talking now about Qatar, what's going on in Qatar, for example, we have started different approaches, different projects, and one of the projects is Lusail City. And I want to explain a little bit more about Lusail City. This means, compared to Jakarta, in Lusail City, we have made a decision. Oh, smart city is really important for us. You know, the World Cup will come in, hopefully, 7 years, in winter. And no, for us, it's more or less winter. For you, it's winter. For us, it's 25 degrees, more than enough. And in Lusail City, we made a decision. We want to build it up from scratch. That means we're talking about a greenfield approach compared to Jakarta. Then we have some other areas, the Pearl and some other areas we want to implement smart cities too. But most of the part, I want to explain a little bit about Lusail, what we are doing there. One interesting point was, one principle of our rules was what's happened with the data. There was made from the government a clear decision. We want to share information we are collecting in this new city to share it with others. There's a clear data policy regulator behind this. So that is from the beginning clear that we can really open the data and share it, make it happen for others so that we can add new services on top. And then we made mobile broadband too. Smart city activities overall, in our footprint, I've explained we have some smaller cities and we have Jakarta. I will explain later in this approach. And overall, if you have a look what's going on in our footprint the next years, until I believe it's 2025 and the next 10 years, we're expecting that the smart city is increasing from 21 countries 2 years before, cities 2 years before, up to round about more than 80 smart cities in the next years. That means the cities will be growing really, really fast, and we have to manage it. This is a reason why, for example, Ooredoo is investing a lot in the story around smart city. We have founded an organization for smart cities in our region, in our footprint, so that we really can push all these activities. Compared to Western Europe, I explained it before, in Qatar itself is really a greenfield approach. So, coming to Lusail City. Lusail City is the greenfield approach. We are starting here. In this case, it's really greenfield. They have made a decision. It's a new city. We will build up in the next years for 450,000 people. Absolute greenfield. So, and what are the typical applications on this side? You can, I believe, have many slides around this. I do not explain all of them, but I want to give you an overview what is the approach we will implement in this smart city. We are starting from the broadband activities up to, for example, in this case, education. Education make data and information happen for all. We are developing platforms that all of them really can learning and can using this technology. The e-health of the city is a part we are implementing. Not only this part is coming over to Doha overall, but especially in this part we have implemented a new platform. Classical things around weather, data storage, all these things are we implementing in a new way. Then the mobile network, in this case we do not talk only about the cellular network, we're also talking about Wi-Fi, all types of hybrid access technology we are implementing in this new city. The data center I already explained, and the city Wi-Fi. Traffic. If you have a look to Qatar or to Doha, we have a problem for public transport. There is no public transport. These things are coming up in a new form. If you have ever been there, who was any time in Doha? Who was, there's one light. If you are there and you are living there, you can see there's a traffic jam all the day. In the morning, in the afternoon, what they are doing now, they're building a railway station, the public transport is coming up all for the World Cup. All these things are they implementing, including intelligent, smart city systems behind this. So intelligent traffic systems so that they really can manage it. Is really important for all these things which are coming up. It's the same we are doing for bus and water, taxi information systems. There are hundreds, thousands of taxis we have to manage in a new way. So make it really happen for all of us. We are creating many new streets, tunnels, all these things are coming up. All these new systems which are actually under construction will be connected with a NOC so that we can manage all of them and really create new services behind them, that we can inform the customer, the person who are traveling, please use now the railway or use your car or whatever you can use, that they're really well informed about this. All these things we are implementing, especially in this Lusail city. Now you can see it here, the traffic digital signature, to inform people how they can use it, how they can move forward, how they can change their direct behavior. Public car parks we are creating in a new form. Here are some interesting applications you never will see in Europe. For example, in Qatar, many people are using a driver. They have their own car, but they have a driver. These drivers are cheap. And they can use their cars, these cars also when they want to do something on a private form. The problem is that many of these drivers are using the car for a sleeping place overnight. So now what they are doing, they're installing black boxes in these cars that you can see, oh, my driver is using my car and he's sleeping or wherever in the world and you're sleeping overnight, because I believe nobody likes it if you're in the morning or you use your car, your driver is coming, you feel that's not like it should be in the morning. So that means all these things, for example, they are managing in a new form. Again, like this example, we are using also this for public car parks and other things. Then street lighting, light rail transportation, all these things we are implementing in this system. Smart access, I explained, it's a hybrid structure. Each household in Doha will get a fiber optic access It's normal, it's state of the art, it's coming. No, it's not coming for most of them, it's existing. It's full cloud-based. It's a must for us here in Qatar. And what's coming up more and more, it's the advertising. Compared to Europe, I also was many years in Europe, there's a clear demand for advertising. People don't know where's an event, what is going on here, where's some new opera, or where's a new cinema movie I want to see. All these things will happen much, much more in a public area so that the people can see, I can go here, I can go there, and that will be managed also by this one knock. Smart energy utilities. I believe I do not want to explain what's going on. We're talking about smart meter, smart grid, street lighting, I also explained. Cooling. We have not a heating problem, we have a cooling problem. Each household has these ACs, and we have to manage these ones because there's so often fires that the system doesn't work really fine, so that we have to manage in the right form. Remote monitor, remote manage these systems. It's coming up. People don't believe that, for example, in our area, our energy is for free, it costs nothing. It is cheap, for sure, but we are also managing the energy consumption during the night. That the energy is going down so that we really can save energy. It's coming up more and more. And all the distribution networks of gas, of oil, and also for water, so that we can manage it in the right form. So then we have the access control, public addresses. I do not want to explain all these things. One thing is happen also is what's going on the water to manage the coast, what things are happening around the coast. All these things will be also implemented in this system. Smart building. I have 2 slides more on this. I believe that's really interesting. What's the people asking me, oh no, you are living in this Middle East region. What are the main applications? Smart buildings. Each month, a new building will be opened. These things are coming up really massive. They have to be managed. And if you see, I believe on one slide later, 2 slides later, I can explain it a little bit more. Facility management. All these things will be added to the system. A different one, this was a new city. There was a new city, Lusail. We have also a downtown area, the Meshrab downtown in Doha. This was also opened, I believe, last month, the first buildings. This will be adding in the next step also into this system. I want to explain a little bit more about what are the typical applications in this region. And I found in some researches some really, really interesting figures. The first one was, I explained before, smart buildings. If you're talking about what is an excellent application you can implement in this region, smart buildings, you can see it here. All of them are using the IoT platforms. They have to manage their buildings regarding maintenance or regarding cooling system, security systems, all this will be managed. And one other one is the figures not only for the Middle East, elevators. These buildings are strong. We are talking about the 50s, the floor number 100, floor number 200. And I found these figures, for example, for China. In China, China's not our region, our footprint, but we are working also in Indonesia. In this area, we are talking about 500,000 elevators per year. This is a business. And one other figure, I like this figure. If you have implemented an elevator, you have to maintain it for the next 100 years. Now, this is a case, a really interesting case, I believe, for these figures. These are typical applications. You do not use it here in Europe in the same way. You have also many elevators for sure, but in this case, all of this is greenfield. It's coming up in a new form. And I believe this should be interesting for all of us. What could be use cases we can use for smart cities in this region, for example? So, jetzt second part, last 5 minutes, I'm coming, Jakarta. Jakarta, Indonesia. Indonesia living around about 240 million people, one of the largest cities worldwide. 28 million people are living in Jakarta. Indonesia itself has around about 70, 80,000 islands. 10 million vehicles, vehicles doesn't mean 10 million cars. In this case, my feeling, I was many times the last month there, it could be 3-4 million cars plus 7 million bikers. And believe me, on each biker, you see minimum 3-4 person, minimum. The high score was 7. 7 people on one biker. So this one has to be managed because there's a limit public transport system. And if you have ever been there and you want to try to cross a road with 4 lines, you will die. No chance. That means we have to manage these cities in a special way. What is the biggest problems in these cities? Traffic. And second part I will explain later, flood. You have seen it many years before with the earthquake. It's really important. Public toilets, all these things we have to manage, and security also. So what I want to explain, one typical region-specific application is after Ramadan or during Ramadan, end of Ramadan. People like to travel to visit their families. They like to leave their city. If they leave their city, I give you an example. In Jakarta, after Ramadan, people want to leave the city and to their family. We are talking about 28, 29 million people who want to travel on one weekend. And that's reality. And these things we have to manage for the future with new traffic system, with more public transport, managed by the government, managed by these people to do it in a different way. And there's also one interesting application I found is carpooling pickup. That means during Ramadan, in Germany they called it the Mitfahrzentrale, everybody's knowing it. That means they've arranged the same. You find a map. On this map, during Ramadan, you see exactly the points where people are waiting and are telling you, I'm driving to A, B, or C, and if somebody want to go with me, please, I'm waiting here the next 15 minutes. You can join my car, we can use the car together. These are applications which are coming up more and more in this region. And the second application, is flood. Flood is really a problem in Jakarta. In Jakarta, we have round about, I believe, 13, 14 rivers, many channels where the water is flowing. The monsoon is coming. They know that it is coming, but that's really a problem. But there's an overflow of water. You cannot pass streets, and there's really dangerous in this region. How to manage it? They have chosen, for example, in Jakarta, they have found in Jakarta that most of the people are using Twitter. Twitter is the most important communication tool in Jakarta. All of them are using Twitter. So, and then how they have installed to measure the flood, they've installed sensors, but it's really expensive. How we can use the crowd to get more real-time information for this. For this one, they're using Twitter. That means how it works, the crowdsourcing flood map. Anybody in Jakarta can tweet it only flood. And if you're doing this via Twitter, it will be mapped directly into a map. And the people can see, oh, it's coming from here, it's coming from there, it's coming. Addition to the official sensor networks, which is existing. That means they get really real-time information about flood. And it is saving life. This is a typical application you will not use here in Europe normally. But in this region, it's really important and people will survive if they are using it. This is a typical application I want to explain or I found here in Jakarta. Other ones which are coming up is parking. They will install the first public parking areas where people have to pay. This one is also coming up now as a first step because people are parking wherever they want to park. You cannot compare it with Europe. These things they have to manage because there's the traffic jam will kill them for the future. That means in this case they are offering now public areas with parking areas where the people have to pay for. All these things will be a part of a NOC they are installing also in Jakarta, in the city, to measure, to survive. At the end, it's compared to do a total different approach. In Jakarta, we are talking how to manage a city with 28 million people. How to manage, keep them survive so that they can go on, that the traffic jam will not kill them. All these things are coming up. Compared to Doha, compared to really greenfield high technology, is a total different approach. And we, from Ooredoo, for example, we cannot copy and paste all of them from one country to the other. We have to adapt it in the right form in this case. So I believe this is my impression after 9 months living in Doha, and the footprint of Ooredoo. Yeah, and if there are any questions, you're really welcome. I will stay here for the rest of the day, and I will fly back in the 45-degree area next day. Thank you very much.